Bailiff Greld's whip cracked across Kazu's back, dragging him through the mud for planting legumes on his strip. Worthless weeds, the brute growled.
You dare defy my orders? These twisting vines will curse the earth.
I died in a greenhouse collapse at 53 and woke up in this starving body, beaten for planting peas.
The empire was starving. Blighted wheat, 3-year famine, turning villages to skeletal wastelands.
Pray to the gods, worm. They'll deliver more lash than grain.
Greld spat and walked away, leaving Kazu collapsed in the dirt, blood seeping into the barren soil. He limped home, through a landscape of dead fields and hollow-eyed serfs, clutching his side.
These glasses, a relic. I remember the nitrogen cycle, the moldboard plow angle. I won't die here.
While the other peasants prayed to indifferent gods, Kazu dug the first scoops of his compost heap under cover of night. The seed of a plan took root in his mind, but discovery meant far worse than a whipping. Days later, Kazu piled kitchen scraps, manure, and straw into a steaming heap behind his hut, while neighbors whispered of madness.
You'll draw vermin and rot, boy. The land is cursed enough without your foolery.
This isn't rot. It's future soil. The bacteria break it down into food for the plants. You'll see.
The villagers scoffed. Planting beans where wheat once withered was blasphemy to their ears. Only a scrawny, red-haired boy watched with open curiosity.
Why do you put the bean plants next to the wheat? Ain't they just weeds?
See these nodules? Tiny bacteria live there. They pull nitrogen from the air and feed the soil. The wheat will grow stronger here next year.
Magic!
If I can make him understand, maybe others will follow. But the bailiff can never know.
In the gray dawn, a week later, the first pale green shoots pushed through the soil on Kazu's strip, defying the blighted field around them.
They're alive, but a miracle in plain sight is a target. I'll need to hide them soon.
Weeks passed. Kazu's strip became a wall of golden wheat and flowering legumes, while the surrounding fields remained gray stubble.
Your patch mocks the gods, serf. This unnatural growth reeks of witchcraft and defiance.
He'll never understand. But if the harvest is heavy enough, even the Lord might listen.
Harvest day. The bailiff and his men measured every strip. When they reached Kazu's, the grain piled higher than a man could reach.
7 times the yield. Mr. Kazu said the beans bring magic from the air.
Silence, boy. This is no blessing. It's a demon's bargain. He's poisoned the land just to spite me.
I can teach everyone. It's science, not sorcery. There are tiny creatures in the soil that...
Greld silenced him, with a backhand across the mouth. He ordered his men to drag the witch to the Lord's holding cells.
If Lord Aldrich believes the bailiff, I'll burn. Everything I know about nitrogen and rotation will die with me.
The villagers whispered of curses and devils as the heavy cell door slammed shut. Kazu's fate now balanced on a lord's whim. In the iron-gray dawn, guards hauled Kazu from the cell to the manor, its stone walls looming like a second prison.
They call you a witch, serf. Yet my bailiff says your strip yielded 7-fold. Explain it, without babbling of demons.
It's soil science, my lord. Crop rotation, composting. I can double the estate's yield within 2 seasons, if you grant me leave.
Lies. He's a trickster who'll poison every field. Burn him and be done.
Enough, Greld. Prophet speaks louder than your fears. The boy gets his chance. Under my watch, you'll have a plot and access, but fail to feed my coffers, and the whip will be a mercy. Do we have an accord?
I swear on the harvest, my lord. Give me seeds and strong backs, and this estate will never starve again.
The deal was struck. Aldrich saw a golden goose. Greld saw his authority crumbling. The bailiff's glare promised future blood.
I've traded the gallows for a leash, but it's a chance. If the soil obeys science, I can buy time and maybe more.
Lord Aldrich retired to count imagined profits, while in the shadows of the Great Hall, Bailiff Greld fingered his whip. A year passed. Kazu's fields flourished while the estate's livestock grew fat on new silage pits. Green feed fermented in earthen trenches, cutting winter losses to nothing.
Select the strongest bull and healthiest cow. Keep their offspring. Over generations, the herd becomes hardier. It's simple genetics, Thomas. Aldrich sees rising profits and thinks it's his due. He has no idea this is a science, not luck. But that ignorance may shield me a while longer.
Kazu supervised the digging of a massive silage pit, layers of chopped corn stalks, packed tight and sealed to ferment into winter feed.
Pile it dense, no air pockets. The fermentation will preserve it. No more cattle dying in the snow. This is how an empire saves its meat.
Word spread. Emissaries from neighboring fiefs arrived at Aldrich's gate, hollow-cheeked and desperate, begging for even a fraction of the estate's newfound abundance.
I'll not share my miracle. Let them starve. It'll drive up the price of my grain. Turn them away, Greld.
That night, Kazu slipped away with sacks of seed and a hand-drawn rotation chart. He found the emissary's village, its children gaunt, its soil like ash.
Bless you, lad. But if the Lord learns you've helped his rivals, Greld's whip will be the least of your worries.
If feeding the hungry is a crime, then this world is backward. But Marta's right. I am painting a target on my back. For now, secrecy is my only armor.
One morning, barn workers found the grain stores ravaged, sacks torn open, rats swarming, a quarter of the winter reserve lost to the teeth of vermin.
This isn't natural. Rats don't breach sealed stores in such numbers overnight. Someone opened the gates. Greld.
Careful, boy. Accusing the Lord's man without proof will get your tongue cut out. Build better walls, not louder enemies.
Kazu didn't argue. He spent the next days constructing a raised platform, its legs wrapped in slick metal sheeting that rats couldn't climb.
The grain stays above. The metal defeats their claws. And these spring traps will thin the bold ones.
Clever rat catcher. But vermin always find a way in, don't they?
He's taunting me. He knows I know. If I can't catch him in the act, I'll have to watch the stores like a hawk.
Nights grew long and cold. Kazu took to guarding the granary himself, a stout stick in hand, eyes straining against the dark for any movement.
You'll wear yourself to bone, lad. The bailiff's patience is longer than your strength. You need allies, not just guards.
Allies. She's right. Thomas, maybe a few honest men, but trust is a luxury when everyone's hungry. I'll finish the traps first, then look for eyes I can trust.
A column of dust rose from the eastern road as Steward Marcellus rode into the village, armed soldiers at his back.
Which of you serfs made the fields flourish? The Emperor demands that knowledge, now.
Kazu was shoved before the cold-eyed steward. Lord Aldrich hovered nearby, his authority shriveling in the Imperial shadow.
You will feed the Imperial army. Use your sorcery or science, I care not. Fail, and this village becomes ash.
This is my estate, steward. My peasants are not yours to command.
The Emperor's word supersedes any lord's. I could have you replaced, Aldrich.
Marcellus's soldiers gripped their sword hilts. Resistance meant immediate slaughter.
You have one day to decide, serf, one day to prove your worth.
Gods save us, lad. The village hangs on your answer.
One day, they'll burn children. How do I feed an army when I can barely guard our own grain?
Flee before dawn, lad. Take the North Trail. The steward's men won't chase one serf into the wilds.
But Kazu, if you run, the village burns. You are the only one who can save us.
Run and let innocents die, or stay and become the Empire's pawn. Either path is soaked in blood. I'll do it. I'll feed your army, steward. But I need tools, seeds, and a guarantee no harm comes to this village.
Bold for a peasant. You'll have your tools and a writ of protection. Fail and your village is forfeit.
Kazu unfurled a blank parchment and began scratching out a crop rotation map, his mind already 1,000 miles ahead.
Intercropping, fallow rotation, composting trenches, I need to double food output on exhausted soil. It's possible, just barely.
I'll come with you. I can carry tools, write notes. I want to learn.
He's brave, but this camp will be a nest of vipers. I'll protect him as best I can. He's the only true ally I have.
With a single mule and a cart of meager supplies, Kazu set out for the Imperial camp, Thomas at his side. The steward's writ heavy in his pocket. The Imperial camp sprawled across the plain. Rows of tattered tents, soldiers too weak to stand, and cook fires burning nothing but water.
The blight doesn't spread randomly. It snakes along the old trade roads like a deliberate scar. Look, Thomas. Everywhere caravans passed, the crops are dead. This isn't plague, it's strategy. No disease cuts so cleanly. Someone wanted these roads barren, but why would anyone starve their own army?
From the shadow of a supply tent, a hawk-faced nobleman watched the newcomer, his smile cold and measuring.
That man. He's weighing me like a threat. Why would a duke care about a serf who grew good wheat?
Master Kazu, that noble stalks us. His livery bears the Emperor's own star. What does he want?
The camp was a spiderweb, and Kazu had just been seen. The key to the famine lay somewhere beneath its threadbare tents.
I came to feed soldiers. Now, I suspect I am feeding a lie. I need to test the soil, but the wrong question could be my last.
The blight had a pattern. The pattern had a master. And Kazu had just been seen. By daylight, Kazu set the half-starved soldiers to digging compost pits and drainage trenches across the camp.
Pile the waste in layers and keep the water moving. A dry field is a living field. Cleaning ditches is a mask. I need to test the soil while everyone sleeps.
By torchlight, he crept to the blight's edge, scraping soil from 3 sites along the old trade road.
The slurry separates. I taste it. Salt. A bitter burn. Someone deliberately poisoned these fields.
The concentration matched the road perfectly. No blight, just a line of murder written in salt.
Salt ruins land for generations. This is a death sentence for the Empire. Who could do this?
The Duke's smile. But I need proof, not suspicion. Until then, we keep this secret like a corpse.
Kazu sealed the soil sample in his pouch. Thomas's young face looked haunted. They were conspirators now.
Feed the army. Hide the proof. Find the hand. One misstep, and we both drown.
That night, he crept through the camp, the salt stench guiding him like a grim lantern. Near the Duke's wagons, he found burlap sacks caked with white crystals, hidden under a moldy canvas.
The Duke's crest, a black falcon, was stamped on the weave.
Before he could retreat, a torch flared. Kazu pressed into shadow as Steward Marcellus strode past, blade half drawn.
Show yourself, or my blade will find you.
The steward didn't see me, but his prowling means the camp's masters are circling.
Kazu waited until the torch faded, then fled with a stolen salt bag, clutched to his chest.
In his tent, he traced Morvan's territory on a map. The salt mines there, undeniable.
You were not in your tent. Why?
Drainage check, my lord. But inside, a single thought. He suspects.
That evening, a shadow detached from the Duke's retinue, a hooded figure with a curved blade, moving toward Kazu's tent.
Kazu, they're coming! 2 men, black hoods, Morven's sigil on their bracers.
Grab the soil sample and the map, quick.
Kei, Kazu, and Thomas bolted through the rear flap as a blade sliced the canvas behind them.
Duck behind the supply wagons. Keep the map, it's all we have.
The assassins cornered them, but Kazu flung a sack of salt into the nearest torch, erupting a blinding white cloud.
Run. Thomas, don't look back.
They escaped into the latrine's stench, where Thomas held up a crumpled document. I snatched it from the assassin's belt.
A requisition for salt, signed by Morvan. We lost the soil sample but gained his confession.
Torches flashed in the distance. The hunters were regrouping. Kazu and Thomas slipped into the night, outlaws in their own camp.
I know a bird handler who owes me. He keeps homing ravens in a hidden cage near the old supply tents.
We fold the requisition inside a letter to General Kadric, the only man the Emperor trusts. It's treason to write it, but silence is a noose.
Thomas slipped away and returned with a soot-black raven, its leg already bearing a message tube.
Fly north, little shadow. Find General Kadric.
By dawn, Steward Marcellus stood on a supply crate, his voice cutting through the mist like a blade.
The serf Kazu is a traitor and deserter. He poisoned the grain pits and fled. Bring me his head, and the Emperor will reward you.
The word spread like fire through dry grass. Kazu, hidden among the supply tents, heard his name cursed by men he had tried to save.
He's not just the Duke's man, he's the Duke's voice. They'll bury the proof with my corpse, unless that bird beats them.
They're searching every wagon. The stewards posted a silver crown for your capture. We can't stay here.
Kazu clutched the empty message tube, now their only talisman, as heavy boots pounded past their hiding place. In the dead hour before dawn, Kazu and Thomas crept near the mess tent, where rasping voices cut the silence. From the shadows, two hooded figures muttered, "Pour the nightshade extract into the broth at dawn. The army will be too sick to march."
Poison the food they begged me to grow. I can't let thousands die for a Duke's ambition.
Kazu pressed a finger to Thomas's lips and slipped toward the mess tent before the moon could betray him.
Don't use the broth. I saw men pour poison into it.
The old cook froze, his ladle dripping. "You, the traitor, why should I trust you?"
Because I've been fighting this blight since I got here. The Duke salted the fields, and now he's salting your pots.
The cook stared at the vial, then upended the cauldron into the fire. Steam hissed and died, but a guard at the tent flap drew his sword, spotting the wanted serf. Kazu fled as torches blazed to life behind him, the camp erupting into a hunting ground. 3 soldiers tackled Kazu into the mud. His arms were bound before he could draw a second breath.
They'll make a show of it. I've bought the army a day, but the Raven is my only jury now.
Kneel him on the block. Let the camp witness the price of treachery.
Kazu's neck pressed against the blood-stained wood. Thomas wept in the crowd, unable to look away. The axe rose. A single horn blast shattered the silence, freezing every heart. An imperial column burst into the square. General Kadric at the front, clutching a parchment high. By order of the Emperor, release the serf. Marcellus, you are under arrest for conspiracy.
This is absurd. I am the Emperor's steward. Seize that impostor.
The Raven reached him. But while they argue, look, Morvan's tent is empty.
Beyond the chaos, a lone rider in dark livery spurred for the forest. Duke Morvan, escaping justice once more. 3 days later, Kazu knelt on the marble floor of the imperial throne room, still wearing his soiled peasant tunic. The Emperor, a tired man with piercing eyes, spoke from his golden throne. "You uncovered a conspiracy and saved my army. What reward do you seek?"
No coin, your majesty. Give me scribes, seeds, and the authority to replant this starving empire. That is all I ask.
Kazu unfurled his crop rotation charts across the polished floor, speaking of nitrogen cycles and intercropping to a hall of skeptical nobles. The Emperor's weary face became thoughtful. "Prove your science on a grand scale, and I will name you Imperial Agricultural Advisor."
Advisor. That's enough power to feed millions, but it paints a target on my back. Morvan will see this as war.
The Imperial scribes drew up a sealed decree, granting Kazu dominion over every acre of Imperial farmland and the soldiers to enforce it.
I'll need messengers and guards. Duke Morvan escaped. He'll try to salt our progress with fire and blood.
That very night, Kazu began sketching the first empire-wide planting schedule, a masterwork of crop rotation and erosion control.
If I fail, I'll hang as a usurper. But if this works, the empire will never starve again. Every bushel a seed of power.
Spring arrived with a caravan of scribes and soldiers. Kazu rode the empire's roads, enforcing his schedule at sword point. In the lush south, a baron spat at the decree. He refused to tear up ancestral wheat for peasant sorcery. Kazu's jaw tightened. He had the Emperor's seal, but traditionalist fury could still undo him.
He'll sabotage us, Kazu. The Northern Lords are already calling it the Serfs' Rebellion.
Far north, Duke Morvan convened a council of discontented lords beneath his Black Falcon banner. A map of the Empire spread before them. The Emperor has shackled us to a serf's madness. Morvan's voice dripped. Strike before the harvest, and the starving Empire will bow to us. In the hinterlands, Kazu faced a Viscount who blocked the road with armed men, curved fingers resting on sword hilts.
I carry the Emperor's seal. Stand aside, or your fields will be the first to burn when the army marches hungry.
That night, by candlelight, Kazu calculated the timeline. The first coordinated planting had to finish before Morvan's rebels could march.
He's making this a race against the harvest. If my crops fail, the Empire falls with me.
The harvest came like a golden tide. Across the Empire, fields of wheat and barley rose taller than any living memory.
The soil remembered nothing of the salt. It only remembered the sun and the rain and the careful hands that fed it.
Duke Morvan's rebellion collapsed before it could march. His starving soldiers surrendered, and the Duke himself was dragged to the block. The Emperor, gaunt but smiling, stood before his court and placed a silver chain around Kazu's neck, elevating him to a minor lordship.
I am no lord, your majesty. I am a farmer who remembers how to make dead things live.
But you are a lord now, and the peasants will bow. The boy who grew enough grain to feed an empire.
You saved us, lad. But the soil feels different when you no longer have to kneel in it.
Will you ever come back to the fields, Master Kazu?
The fields gave me power, but they took my place among the people. I stand alone on a hill of grain, watching from above.
The Empire was fed, the famine was a ghost, and the serf who had once been beaten for planting legumes now wore a silver chain. The Emperor offered a permanent seat on his council, a voice in the law that would shape an empire.
Heavier than the silver chain. This, I'll be the peasant who becomes the bureaucracy, a stranger in satin.
Before taking his seat, he returned to his old village, a place where the soil still knew his footprints.
Look at you, Lord Kazu. The soil won't recognize the hands that no longer dig in it.
My hands are clean. That should be a gift, but it feels like a scar I'll carry forever.
Thomas rushed forward, a grown man now, but still carrying the same eager light in his eyes.
Will you ever come back, Master Kazu? The fields you taught us are waiting for your shadow.
I have no answer that won't taste like a lie. The council seat is a prison of marble and ink.
He left them with a new seed varietal and a heavy heart. The villagers knelt as his carriage rolled away.
I fed the Empire, but I starved my own roots. Every bushel, a seed of power, but who will harvest my barren ground?
In the heart of the golden harvest, Kazu stood with the Emperor, walking through waist-high wheat that stretched to the horizon.
The secret is the soil. Your Majesty. Legumes 1 year, wheat the next, and fallow to rest. It's a cycle, not a miracle. With this rotation, the Empire will never starve again. The soil will outlive us all.
The Emperor nodded, a rare flicker of wonder in his tired eyes. Here was a man who had turned knowledge into a kingdom.
But as the sun dipped, he glanced down and saw his own shadow stretching impossibly long across the field. A stranger cloaked in lordly robes.
The man who had killed a famine with a compost heap now wore the trappings of a lord, and the gap between them felt unbridgeable.
I gave my life to this soil, and it gave me power. But no rotation can restore the ground I've lost inside.
The Emperor's carriage departed, leaving Kazu alone with the rustling grain that would feed 10 million souls.
The Empire will eat, the children will grow, and a ghost will sit on the council, whispering of nitrogen and loss.
He tucked the old glasses back into his pocket, the last relic of a world where a scientist could die and a peasant be born. He was neither now, and both. He walked the fields alone, the wheat bowing with the wind like a sea of gold.
I used to kneel in the dirt and whisper to seeds. Now I stand and whisper to emperors. Both feel like prayer.
A barefoot child ran up and pressed a wild flower into his hand, saying nothing, just a smile that spoke of full bellies.
Thank you.
The child scampered away, leaving Kazu staring at the tiny bloom, its roots still dusted with soil.
This is what I wanted. Not the chain or the seat, just this, a child who doesn't know hunger.
Young Thomas approached, no longer a boy but a man with calloused hands and a knowing smile.
You taught us well, Master Kazu. The land remembers.
The land remembers, and so do I. I am the peasant scientist, and the Lord, belonging to both worlds, and neither.
As the sun sank below the golden sea, he placed the flower in his pocket beside the old glasses and walked on toward the darkening horizon. He climbed to the highest ridge as dawn broke, overlooking the fields that now stretched unbroken to the edge of the world. There, on a weathered stone that had once been an altar to forgotten gods, he laid the old glasses gently side by side, a memorial to the scientist who died in a greenhouse collapse and the peasant who had been beaten for planting legumes. Below, the empire woke in green and gold, every field a patch in a quilt sewn from his knowledge. He stood there a long while, the wind, the only voice, the soil, the only witness.
Every bushel I grew was a seed of power, but I didn't plant them for chains. I planted them to end the hunger. The hunger is gone, the power remains, and I am the one who planted them.
He turned from the stone and walked down the other side of the ridge, not toward the capital, but toward a new morning. The camera pulls back, the empire's fields alive and endless. The story of a serf who fed an empire now belonging to the land itself.